And to trending now, I think it's suddenly becoming obvious, I mean, social media, a lot of chatter about it, that America has a real leadership crisis. And it's not just that its president, Joe Biden, seems to have dementia that's getting rapidly worse.
So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done.
Adding to the problem is that the person who would take over from him, if he can't go on, as his vice president, she's totally clueless. And it's not just that she's not doing a job like, fixing the border crisis that she was asked to do and won't go near it. Check this out. Being asked during a briefing, I think it was last week, by NASA, if NASA could perhaps use its satellites to track down racist trees.
Can you measure trees? Part of that data that you're referring to, and it's in EJ's environmental justice, but you can also track by race their averages in terms of the number of trees in the neighborhood where people live.
And now she's on a visit to France, for some reason, where she put on a French accent while talking to French scientists. Oh, and Americans seem to realise that this is a clown show now. Biden's polls are terrible, around 40% approval, but Harris's are even worse, 28%. Joining me is Daisy Cousens, a YouTube star with her own video channel. Daisy, what is the problem with Kamala Harris?
Well, look, if we're to believe Jimmy Kimmel, then everyone who doesn't like her is sexist and racist, which is actually what he said on his show recently. But in the absence of any compelling evidence to indicate that nearly 3/4 of the population of America are racist and sexist, we can just put that in the lefty cop-out basket and assume instead that Kamala Harris is simply ineffective, out of touch, and I really do hate to be unkind here, Andrew, but she has the charisma of a wet sock, which really doesn't help. And as you mentioned earlier, she was assigned to manage the crisis at the border, but not only did she not actually go down until to the border until June, she fobbed off journalists who called her on it earlier than that by laughing at them and likening it to the fact that she hadn't been to Europe, as if that was any kind of equivalence. She is neck deep in the swamp, as we know, which people find very, very off-putting. She's also obsessed with race politics, as you saw with that ridiculous racist trees comment. And as we know from the Virginia election last week, there's a bit of a woke-lash going on in America against race politics. So that's not going to be particularly good for her either. And what we've got to remember is I don't actually think she was that popular going into the vice presidency. She might have bought some shine from Biden at the start from his honeymoon period. But when she dropped out of the nominee race last year, she was polling at like 1 or 2%, really, really low. And she wasn't even the front runner for Biden's vice president. She ended up on the ticket, but the front runner was Amy Klobuchar, who pulled out because she said Biden should choose a woman of color to be the VP. And of course, that was going to be Kamala because there was nobody else. So really, she has nothing going for her. She's attached to Biden. She's completely dysfunctional. And I'm very, very sorry for the American public that this is who they have to choose from.
Well, it's even worse than you say, Daisy, because if Biden can't go on, yes, he'd be replaced by Harris. But next in line for the leadership hierarchy is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, who's, 81 or something. Can you explain to me what Nancy Pelosi, even with the help of her amazing arm movements, which are just so distracting, what she's actually saying in this briefing to journalists last week?
We're sending stuff over to the Senate. Well, most of the product that we've done is, except now we may have added in the last day or so, and some of what we added is Senate to the bill, like a hearing. Bernie doesn't like hearing. Excuse me, Bernie loves hearing. Manchin doesn't want hearing in the bill and all that stuff. So some is Senate-oriented, and then we have the family medical leave. We figured if they're putting things in, then we can put something in, even if Manchin doesn't like it. So, so we are getting some bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege scrub is deadly to a bill. convertible is important. You have to take it out. But privilege violation can take you out.
That's just hypnotic, Daisy. America's got 330 million people. It ends up with Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Nancy Pelosi, 1, 2, 3 in the leadership. Explain this.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, with so many people, those are the best three they can come up with. And the hilarious thing, Andrew, look what they said about the previous administration. They said that Trump was horrible, and that he was crazy, and that he was racist, and that he was a terrible leader, and he said all of these awful things, and they peddled just complete fake news and fake stories about him. They promised that they would do better, and they would be the adults in the room, and everything would be just normal and lovely when they got into power. And now they've got into power, and rather than improving on Trump, you've got a president who is completely off with the pixies. You've got a vice president who the very best thing about her is that she can do a bad French accent. And given that clip of Nancy Pelosi, you have a Speaker of the House who apparently doesn't know her Arthur from her Martha. But I guess what, Andrew? Guess what? How wonderful for America. There are no more mean tweets. There are no more mean tweets coming from the president's Twitter account. And well, look, I guess that must, in the minds of Democrats, make up for the absolutely horrible leadership position they are currently in.
Well, I think you're being a bit unkind to Nancy Pelosi because it might just be a simple, natural answer. She might just be drunk. Okay, so, you can't rule that out. And you can always recover from being drunk. So I don't know whether you can recover from what actually she was having, but whatever. Daisy Cousens, thank you so much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it. Talk to you next week.